I'm Kimberly Turner from cookingwithkimberly.com, and tonight we're making a beautiful Zuppa Tuscana, a Tuscan-style Italian soup with onions and potatoes and kale and beautiful things. Now, I got all kinds of beautiful produce from my Harvest Barn Country Markets, and there's 2 locations here in Southern Ontario. One's in Niagara-on-the-Lake and one is in St. Catharines. And I got beautiful, Mom just finished peeling and slicing some fingerling potatoes. They're beautiful. I can't wait to use them in here. And the kale and gorgeous things. So that's what's going in here. Make sure that you check out Harvest Barn Country Markets for their fresh produce, etc. at harvestbarn.ca. And let's get started. So we've rinsed off the kale, we've trimmed it off, and it's just sitting in my bowl. We have the fingerling potatoes. They've been rinsed, they've been peeled, anything that doesn't look nice, and they've just been sliced into beautiful chunks, okay? Little medallions. So those sitting in some cold water just as we're waiting. Now I've diced up half of an onion. It's a pretty large onion. I was gonna use a whole one, but I think that's all I need because it was a very big onion. So use about half of that. First things first, I have a large soup pot on my stove on a nice heat, getting hot. Put just a little bit of olive oil in there, maybe a tablespoon. And next thing, the meat. Now, I would typically use an Italian sausage, like a mild Italian sausage, or even spicy if that's what you're feeling. But I didn't have any today. So I was looking in my freezer and I have some beautiful cabanazzi sausage. Now, if you don't know what cabanazzi is, it's kind of like a kielbasa sausage in tiny long strips. So it's essentially the same thing as kielbasa, I would say, Mom. Yes?
Very, very similar.
It's a pork sausage, beautiful fat content. It's garlicky, it's oniony already, it's got nice spice in it, and I'm going to brown this up in my pot just to get brown and get some of that beautiful fat going so that I can fry my onions in it after. So let's get Okay, I'm just browning that up in my pot. It's going to render some of its fat, and it's going to be a beautiful way to saute up your onions. Also, as that sausage browns up, it's going to get nice crusty bits on the bottom of your pot. So you want to use that because your onions will deglaze it off, and that's just flavor in there, caramelized flavor. So how many of these potatoes did you use, Mommy?
About a package that size.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So these are just little tiny ones,
yeah,
right? The fingerling, we have a couple of the round ones and mostly the fingerlings. So
yes, about a dozen.
About a dozen.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. And this is 2 big bunches of kale. Now,
yes, 2.
The recipe that I use, usually I only use 1 bunch of kale, but the kale looks so good.
I know, and we love it. So
I want to make it the feature focal point of this soup today. I do different variations of this soup.
Yes.
But today, I mean, we're using different sausage. You can use different vegetables if you want. I might even grate in a carrot later. I don't usually do that. Today is just usually onion, the potato, the kale, and the meat. That's right. The whole point. And some spice.
Cream.
And the cream at the end. That's Mom's favorite. Okay, my sausage is done. It is nice and brown. I can smell that. I don't want it to go any further than it is right now. I'm going to take them out and reserve them in a nice bowl while I do my onions. It's going to be returned back to the pot as soon as I add the liquid.
Keep all the nice flavors.
Just put it in a bowl, off to the side. It's still sizzling in the bowl. But it's rendered some beautiful pork fat for me and flavor. It's also given me some nice little brown bits on the bottom. So that's setting to the side. Into the pot goes my onion. And we're just going to cook that until they're somewhat translucent, I would say. In the meantime, I'm going to get together, or maybe Mom will, 2 little cloves of garlic for me. If you want to mince it, you can. Yeah. If you want to just take off the skin and leave them whole, we can throw them in. Okay. We're going to use 2 big ones. I don't want to put my garlic in with my onions.
I know every chef has their own way of doing things.
Yep. I don't want to put my onion in and the garlic at the same time. The garlic tends to burn, and when it burns, it gets very bitter.
Yes.
And when you cut garlic up, you cut it in nice, tiny little pieces, so it cooks so quickly.
Yes.
You're going to be so upset that it's all burnt up, and your onions aren't even done. Mind you, in this soup, you could just add the liquid and add all of your vegetables to it without even sauteing it. But I feel that this develops a lot more flavor by sauteing first. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then adding Save all your peelings for your garden.
Mm-hmm. Garden's happy for anything you can do.
Oh, that smells so good. The onions and the cabanazzi. Yummy.
Garlic smells heavenly.
Okay, at this point, I'm gonna add a little bit of red chili flake, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. I like my soup to be nice and spicy, my Zuppa Tuscana. I'm also gonna grind up some freshly cracked pepper. Maybe, I don't know, 1½ dozen of them or so. Into the pot. Now, if you wanted to, you could add peppers of some kind. You could use a green or red, any color pepper you want. You could even add a little tiny hot pepper if you wanted to. Add a little pinch of salt, maybe a teaspoon or so. You're gonna re-season to taste. Don't forget, your sausage, if you're using it, sometimes is salty.
Yes.
And the cabanazzi does tend to be a tiny bit salty, so I'm not adding too much. Okay, my onions are at a point where I'm ready for my garlic now. Now your garlic will only take a couple, like maybe a minute even in here. It's already nice and hot. The pan, I mean, the pot. Oh, it smells so good. There's nothing like frying up some onions and garlic. If you want to impress people, even if you didn't cook, go in your kitchen and cut up some onions and garlic and just let the aromas go. Even if you bought it at the store, your food for the night. They won't know the difference. Now, I'm not really sure how much water altogether is going to be added, but I need to cover my kale up. And so right now I'm going to put water in so that my onion and garlic will stop cooking. So for the time being, while I'm preparing the kale,
That's what in about 6 cups just now.
I would say probably 6 cups, yeah. So I'm just going to peel the kale off just like you would romaine lettuce off of the ribs. And that's pretty much it. And a nice bite-sized pieces-ish. And they're going to go right into my pot just like that. We've grown kale and done a bang-up job with it. Boy, does it ever grow well. Okay, so my kale's all done. It's up to here now, my kale in the water. So it's about 3/4 of the way up this pot, okay? And into this is gonna go all that meat I sauteed up. Now the potatoes aren't going in now. The potatoes are gonna go in probably 15 or 20 minutes before the soup is actually done and ready to serve. I don't like mushy potatoes in my soup. They fall apart, they're all mealy, I don't like that. So I put them in right at the end until they're just done and then it's time to serve. So the only other seasoning I'm going to put in is later on, I'm probably going to add just a little bit of fresh oregano that we also got at Harvest Barn. Beautiful bunch of it.
Fresh.
Yes.
Nice.
So there goes my bay leaf. So what you want to do is you want to bring this up to a boil, okay? And then you're going to turn it down to a simmer as soon as it comes up to that boil. But I'm not going to turn it on aggressively right now because I want the flavors of the ingredients to leach out into the water.
Right.
So I'm going to start it, it's just going to stay on maybe a medium heat until it comes up. Okay?
Right, so you get all the benefit of all those tastes.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
that
Look
taste.
how pretty that is. That's a pretty, it looks like a
Beautiful.
salad.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll check back in with you. I don't know, this is probably going to take a good hour for the kale to tenderize up, etc. So we'll see you in probably about an hour. Okay, my soup has been going for a good hour. My kale is as tender as I want it to be. The amount of liquid has reduced probably by about half, and that's what I wanted. So now my potatoes are ready to go in, but I'm going to dump the liquid in here. I don't need extra water. I just got rid of water.
Right.
And this doesn't have flavor, so we're getting rid of it, and the potatoes are going to go in. It's probably only going to take about 15 minutes to have my potatoes done. And then we're going to stir in the cream at the very end and finish it as well. And we're going to taste test this actually first to see what our broth is like.
Oh, yeah. Good.
That's good. Would you like to try some?
Sure.
But it's quite flavorful. I'm going to dump this water.
That's lovely, Kim. It's full of flavor. Wow.
Okay, so into my pot goes my beautiful potatoes, my fingerling potatoes. This is going to thicken up the soup slightly, make it a little bit more creamy, but don't forget the cream. Yeah, like that. All right, I'm going to set the timer for about 15 minutes. We're in the home stretch here. My potatoes are all the way tender, and what I'm going to do is add about 1 cup of heavy cream. I'm going to stir that through, and then my mama always teaches me to finish it off with a little bit of butter. Gives a nice gloss and a nice feel on your palate. Now's the time to adjust your seasoning, any salt, any pepper you want, any more spice you'd like, but ours is pretty good. I just tasted it, it's pretty flavorful. So I think we're good to go. It's just about right. Perfect. I'm gonna put that back there for 1 second. I'm gonna chop up a little bit of oregano and put that on the inside there. Just for so we have this beautiful bunch of oregano, fresh oregano from Harvest Barn. I'm just quick chopping it. And I'm gonna throw that in, and that's just gonna season it just right. Are you ready, Mommy? I'll get you a spoon. Look at that. All that goodness, green leafy vegetables, that beautiful cabanazzi sausage, which you could use Italian sausage, which is what it usually calls for. But that's okay, you can improvise. That fresh oregano, that nice creamy broth. Ooh, those potatoes I can't wait to eat.
I love kale. This kale is,
And you know, people throw this in there and hardly cook it as much as I did, right?
I don't know how they can eat it like that.
Well, I mean, you can eat it raw and it tastes tasty, but in my soup, I don't want a big chunk of
something that's not cooked.
Hard greens? No. So, yours kind of looks nicer than mine. Yours. Mine's over full. Anyway, that's it. That's beautiful. Zuppa Tuscana. It's that broth and the kale and the potatoes, the onions. Lovely. Ooh. Now I'm gonna get
Smells so good.
I'm gonna get you a nice spoon.
I'm hungry too.
Me too. I'm starving.
We've been cooking all day long.
All day long.
Since we got out of bed this morning.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ooh wee, that's hot.
Yes, it is.
Careful now. Oh, that's what's up. I want a little bit of everything on mine. Mm-hmm. It's delicious. Is it? Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna show you this bite. Look at this bite. Really? There you go. The potatoes, the kale, that beautiful sausage. Oh, God. It's delicious?
It's delicious.
Mmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm crazy about soup anyhow. Soups are my favorite things.
Mm-hmm. I like mine just a little spicier. A little bit of chili flake. Freshly ground, it's extra spicy. That broth is nice.
The whole thing is nice. I love it. So the potatoes are good.
Yes. And we had our dessert first. We had our rhubarb tartlets.
That happens.
So make sure you check out that recipe for the rhubarb tarts. You're gonna like that too. And that's how you make our version of Zuppa Tuscana. Anyhow, make sure you check out Mom's website at ingridturnertoday.com. Follow me on Twitter at cookingwithkim, with a capital E. Like the fan page at facebook.com/cookingwithkimberly. My shows are on ifood.tv/cookingwithkimberly and youtube.com/cookingwithkimberly. And my site is cookingwithkimberly.com. That's it, that's all. Be a champion in your kitchen and eat deliciously. Bye.
Bye-bye. Sister will be good.
Good.